Good afternoon and welcome to Right from the Heart. I am your host, Deborah Johnson. Right from the Heart explores how handwritten communication can transform relationships and tell your story while preserving your history. Today's show is all about gratitude. Have you ever taken a lot of time to do something? Just a lot of time. Like you're thinking about someone that you know and love and you find just the right thing for them. And you're so excited. You're so excited. So you go and you purchase it, you bring it home, you wrap it up carefully, even in the best paper that you know, even the paper is going to make them smile. And then you take it and you take it to the post office. You put it in carefully to make sure that whatever you have in there stays safe. And then you wait. You cannot wait for them to send you a note, call you, let you know just how they felt about it. You just can't wait. And so you know it's going to take a couple of days, maybe even a week with the post office. But then nothing. Like nothing. No call, no note, nothing. And you begin to wonder, did they get it? Did I put the right address on that? It is the worst feeling. Now, you didn't send it because you were waiting for the thank you, but you want to know that they enjoyed it. You want to know that it hit home. And this is what today's show is all about. It's graduation and wedding season. And although these aren't the only times that you would write a thank you note, it's a great time to shine light on this subject. Hey, Michelle, I'm so glad you tuned in today. I know with you working with young people and working with moms, this is a great topic for any young person and any mom to tune into, and maybe you can share this information with them. You know, I'm always amazed how things just show up when I need them. Like as I've been going along and doing this show and other things in life, just the right thing shows up at just the right time. So one of my pleasures is reading advice columns. I think one day I'm going to actually write an advice column. I absolutely love them. And one of my favorites is an etiquette column by Judith Martin called Miss Manners. I've been reading this column since 1988, a long time. I bought her books. I just love her advice. The thing I like about her is that not only does she give good advice, she's hysterically funny. And I hope that you will really be able to glean her sense of humor from the column that I read yesterday. Yesterday, the column was writing thank you notes to people you don't even know. Fancy that, right? Okay, this is how it reads. Dear Miss Manners, my mother has an active social life with multiple friendships that have lasted decades. I have been assured that I have met these ladies, but that I was just a baby at the time. I have been blessed with two children in the last 2 years, and these kind ladies give my mother presents for my children. My mother brings the presents to me practically every other week. Some presents have become a beloved toy. Others kind of miss the mark. That's to be expected of gifts from strangers. My mother then urges me to write thank you notes to her friends. These are unsolicited gifts from strangers. I have two young children and I do not have the time to sit down and write thank you notes to people I don't know. I feel that these gifts are actually meant for the grandmother to give to the grandchild, not for the mother and the child, with the grandmother acting as a delivery service. Thus, I feel that if my mom wants them to receive a thank you note, she should be the one to write it. So, what do you think about this? Should she or should she not write a thank you note for the gifts that she's receiving for her children? I would love for you to put in the chat what you think about that, Michelle. Do you think that she should write a thank you note? I'll just give you a moment. I just think about that. Someone is taking the time. They've known you since they were little. They feel like they still know you. They feel like you're still close because your mom tells them stories all the time and keeps them up to date. And they feel like part of the family. Well, let me tell you what Miss Manners says. Gentle reader, has it become so commonplace to explicitly solicit presents that we have become resentful when people give them spontaneously? And for the sheer pleasure of it? Never mind. Miss Manners knows the answer to that all too well. Yes, these inconsiderate strangers are using your children as a conduit for expressing their affection for your mother. How rude. If you really want the presents to stop, by all means, make your mother look bad and cease writing thank you letters. But know that since the relative success rate of these presents is fairly high, although it shouldn't matter, you would also be punishing your children. The good news is that if you just hold out a couple of more years, your children will be old enough to write the letters themselves. Then you can have the pleasure of nagging them. How about that? I love that. Yes, yes, Michelle says my mother always expected my children, her grandchildren, write a thank you note. Is that old school? Michelle, I hope it's not old school. It's not old school in my book. My mother always had us write thank you notes, and she would do the very same thing. This is the lady on my job, Deb. This is Miss Todd I've been telling you about. Now, Debbie, I know you know who that woman is, and it didn't matter. I got this wonderful gift that someone thought so much of my mother that they would send something to me. I thought that was fabulous. So before we even get into the how of doing it, I just want to share with you these quick 10 reasons that Mind Fuel lists is why saying thank you is a good thing. So thank you. Two simple words with the power to change our entire outlook on life. So here are the 10 things to think about. Number one, saying thank you keeps you humble. Orrin Woodward says, ingratitude produces pride, while gratitude produces humility. Hey, Shirley, it's so good to see you today. We're talking about the 10 reasons why you should say thank you. Okay, so the number one was saying thank you keeps us humble. It keeps us in a mind of being grateful. Number two, saying thankful makes us fully appreciate our blessings. Being thankful for what you have, you'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never have enough. Oprah Winfrey says that. Number three, saying thank you makes us feel more optimistic. It's just something about showing your gratitude. It's hard to show gratitude and feel bad at the same time. Trust me on that one. Number four, saying thank you encourages compassion, kindness, and love. When we say thank you, it's just a way that we say it. Typically, when we say thank you, it's a smile on our face that goes all the way up to our eyes. When we say thank you, it's a way of showing our love for that person and for the act that they've displayed toward us. Number five, saying thank you shows selflessness. Make it a habit to tell people thank you, to express your gratitude and sincerity without expecting anything in return. When we say thank you, we're just trying to let people know we really appreciate them. Number six, saying thank you is good for the spirit. It's more than just communicating how you feel about something. It's really good on a spiritual level. People who are constantly being appreciative, having gratitude, their life is just better. It really is. It just turns out better. Saying thank you, number seven, saying thank you is good for the heart, like literally. Gratitude is the memory of the heart, Jean-Baptiste Massou says. It really is. When you are grateful, when you're in the mind for being grateful and saying thank you, it just prolongs your life in a different kind of way. You feel good about yourself. Your blood pressure's lowered. Today, a 95-year-old woman who has been in my life since I was probably, as my mother would say, before I was born. She was a member of my church before I was a member of my church that I grew up in. And Mrs. Williams, Lord, Frances Williams, turned 95 this week. She told me she still walks up and down the steps like 5 to 10 times a day just to keep herself going well. She lives alone. She has wonderful sons who take care of her. And she told me on her 95th birthday, so many people have reached out and said thank you. She called me up to thank me for the flowers and a card I sent. And then she added, Deborah, I usually don't take this long to write a note, but at 95, it takes me a little bit longer now. But she says, I have to get my stamps, and then I'm going to sit down and write each person who took the time to say thank you. I've got to believe that she didn't get to be 95 by accident. She didn't get to have that beautiful penmanship by accident. She writes me all the time. And she didn't get to have that same presence of mind by accident. I really believe her sheer gratitude for life every day. She said she walks through the day saying, thank you, God, for today. Thank you for letting me walk up the stairs. Thank you for allowing me to live alone. It just made me smile hearing her talk about it. So number 8, it goes right into this. Saying thank you can be kind of a prayer. So if the only prayer you ever say in life is thank you, it's a big one. It's so important to take time thanking God for waking up, thanking people for helping you along the way. We do not do life by ourselves. None of us. No matter how much money we have, no matter how in shape we are, no matter, what a great job we have, no matter how many children we have or don't have, we don't do this life by ourselves. Cheryl Owen says, writing a thank you takes time. You have to think about what you want to say. You don't just say thank you for the such and such. You describe it. You add your appreciation. Okay, now, Cheryl, you could have taken this show on yourself today. This is what we're talking about. Hey, Faye, I'm so glad you're here. But saying thank you is like a continual prayer that you say all day. It's counting your blessings. Number 9, saying thank you inspires wonder in our existence. When we just look around and we see how beautiful the world is, when we see all the modern conveniences we have, when we just feel the gentle breeze, we can know that we're here. We feel it. We know it. It inspires wonder. And number 10, saying thank you connects us to the goodness within others. Appreciation is a wonderful thing. It just makes us feel good to be able to connect with another person and just say thank you. So these are just 10 ways to say thank you. There are so many impactful ways to do it, creative ways to do it. But for the rest of the show today, I'm going to be covering 5 steps you can take to write a meaningful note of thanks to someone. And I'll also cover some creative ways to go beyond a short note of thanks. So we're going to just start with the basics. Number 1, when you are writing a note of thanks, you just start with a salutation. It may seem obvious, but generally you want to start your thank you note by addressing your recipient with a salutation. So if it is that stranger that you feel like is a stranger, that's your mom's friend, and you don't really know her that well, and you know her name is Gladys, but you probably shouldn't be saying, hey, Gladys, you don't know her like that. You might want to say, back when I came along, you say things like, hi, Miss Gladys, because that's how we grew up. Or you might say, hi, Mrs. Johnson or Mrs. Smith. But you want to start it off that designates your relationship. Now, when you get it from your bestie, you might say, hey, girl, oh my goodness. When you say, hey, girl, they know that she knows you guys are close. It might be just saying the person's name. I get that a lot. Somebody will just say, Deborah. We know it's for me, right? So how formal or informal you choose, this should depend on a few factors. If you're very acquainted with them, then you have a way that you address the person. Maybe there's a pet name for the person, and you might send that to that person, and it makes them smile just knowing that you do that. Okay. Then if it's somebody, though, like I said, that you don't know very well, keep it formal and be safe by just saying something formal to them, Mr. or Mrs., and leave it at that. Dear Mr. or Mrs. If you don't know their first names. You could just be dear Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. However, it might be your aunt, it might be your Aunt Gladys and your Uncle Tom. You put it that way. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Jones, dear Miss Danette, whatever. But get right to the point. Number two, you want to get right to the point. Don't belabor your thank you. This is not the letter, okay? You can say thank you in a letter, but if your purpose is to write them and let them know you appreciate something, get right to the point and let them know why you're writing it. And you express your thanks. And while you're at it, make sure to mention what it is that you're thankful for. So, your birthday card made my day. Thank you so much. Your birthday gift was perfect. Thank you for thinking of me. Thank you so much for your generous wedding gift or your generous graduation gift. Thank you for the opportunity to interview for the senior designer position. Now that's a whole nother level of thank you, the business thank you. I'm going to dedicate a whole show on the business thank you. But still, if you don't do anything else, you just write it down. Thank you for, and then mention that. Now, number three, you're going to mention a specific detail or two. Okay? What specifically did you love about their gift? No need to exaggerate or go overboard. If someone sent you a basic candle, it's a basic candle, but they know you like candles and you're going to put it right to use. You might be thinking, man, my other candle just burned out. It would go something like this. That candle came just in time. You know how much I love candles. I took it right out of the box and put it on my kitchen table. Tomorrow morning when I have my coffee, I'll be looking at your candle. Just that simple. Okay. If you get a pair of glasses and it's not the greatest sunglasses, don't go on and on about how amazing they were. But do mention specifically how you're going to use that gift. Say, for instance, you got those sunglasses. They may not be the cutest ever, but you're saying, thank you for those glasses. It was just in time for the beach. We leave for vacation on Saturday, and your glasses came on Thursday. Thank you so much. Now I'll have a backup pair. Thank you. You didn't even know I needed one, but thank you. Say things like, I'm so stoked to use the birthday money on my vacation at the beach. I know exactly where I'm going to get my first margarita, what I'm going to get my first margarita with. Something like that. Gail Dudley, I know you're out there. You'll be using it for your first mimosa, right? But people would know that that was you. They'd be so glad that they sent it to you, and they will be smiling, thinking about the fact that you used it. Now, this is going just a little extra mile, but maybe you will send them a picture of you drinking that margarita and say, your money went a long way, okay? And you do it that'll make them feel fabulous, right? We've been smoothie making machines for the past month. Thank you so much. Whatever it is, let the person know you enjoyed it. And then number 4, look ahead. So sure, you're excited about that smoothie mixer they got you, but don't forget to let them know that they're an important person in your life, that this note is not just about the stuff. You say, when they write you, I just want to tell you what a great friend you are. I really appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to us getting together in the next month just to have coffee. Something like that. Maybe a person sent you something and it jogged your memory that, has it been that long? It might have been 2 or 3 months since you've gotten together. So in the thank you note, say, and I'm looking forward to us getting together sometime soon. And but you always want to let them know, I'm going to have you over for dinner sometime soon. Whatever it is, be sincere. But number 5, this seems obvious, wrap it up with more gratitude. So it's like a sandwich. You start off saying thank you, you end saying thank you. You bring attention right back to where you started. I can't thank you enough for thinking about you. Man, you just mean the world to me. Thanks again. It's okay to say thanks again. It's okay to say thank you and then whatever, but wrap it up with gratitude. The message is what it's all about. It's okay to spruce it up a bit, but stay away from over the top. Yeah, have you ever seen the people who send you like 25 emojis and you're just trying to figure out which one? Okay. You're like, oh, wow, I just said good morning and I just got 16 emojis all about the morning. You don't even know where to look. A sincere thank you with a couple of words expressing how you feel goes a long way. And it goes a long way when you have, say, a very simple thing. You get a graduation, you get a wedding. Honestly, people are expecting a gift for those kinds of things. And people who give the gifts are expecting to get something in return. They're expecting to know that you got it and you like it. They really want to know that you got it. So at the end of your letter, oh, and that's the other thing I wanted to tell you. At the end of that letter, you end it with that same kind of some kind of warm sentiment, warmly, with love, all the best. Just make sure that you close that loop. Thanks again, all the best. But just make sure that you put down a sentiment that lets people know you really care. This is the time when you want to lean into the relationship. Now, when you get notes, get gifts that are kind of expected. You get married, you're kind of expecting to get a gift. You have a birthday party, you're kind of expecting the person's going to bring a gift. So you send this note to let them know how much you enjoyed it. But these are not the only occasions when you write thank yous. Guys, there are times in your life when people just go above and beyond. It's the gift that happens, but it's not wrapped in a box. When that neighbor gets your mail for you when you've been away, or checks on your fish while you're away and comes in and takes care of it, when they see something going on and they take care of it because they know you're out of town, when your friend sees that your child is struggling on that Spanish exam and they speak fluent Spanish and they say, I don't mind working with them, write it down. Just write it down and let them know that you think, what you think about that. I love that, Lady Overflow. Lean into the relationship. Every time you write by hand, you are writing to really lean into that relationship. And you know what, Gail? I love what you're writing. And this is a note that you might want to take out of your playbook, guys. Have you ever had the occasion to send money to a relative, particularly a young person, and their birthday, graduation, you're thinking about them, and then nothing? You write a check. They cash the check. You know they got the money. It wasn't lost, but nothing. You don't get anything back. That's just a yucky feeling. I love what Gail does. She says she actually gives high school seniors additional funds when they send her a thank you. I just talked to a woman recently. She says she sets aside $200. She sends the first 100 to her niece, nephew, and if she gets a thank you, she'll send the second one. If not, she just keeps it moving. Young people, if you're listening to this broadcast, you'll never know the gifts that you're missing out because you don't say thank you. And they're not doing it for the thank you. The thank you is your way of showing your gratitude. And when people don't know that you're grateful, they kind of think maybe they don't like gifts. Maybe I'm sending them something and it's offensive. So you stop giving the gift because you're thinking maybe I overstepped my boundaries. In the meantime, you're on the other end loving that gift, right? So make sure you say thank you. Now let me say this to you. Trust me on this. I have friends that collect things. And every time I send them something that they collect, I say to them, let me know. Deb, you know you're out there. I have a girlfriend that collects flamingos. She loves flamingos. I have found flamingo everything. But every time I'm thinking, has she stopped liking flamingos? But guess what she tells me? Oh, this is so cool. I don't have one of these. I don't have this one. I know she still enjoys it. But sometimes people go through times in their lives where they're into something and then that time is past. When I was living in Virginia, I was living in a colonial area. Everybody loved these colonial ducks. And I had these geese. And I loved geese everything because it was a colonial thing. But when I moved to Ohio, that was kind of over. So I had to start telling my friends, since I moved to Ohio, I'm not decorating in the wild geese theme anymore. I'm kind of over it. And then It doesn't hurt their feelings. If you get something and then you say to yourself, oh my goodness, they don't realize I'm allergic to lotion. I'm allergic to scented lotions. Let them know in the note, oh my goodness, you know how much I love lotion. I probably didn't let you know that I can no longer do scented lotions, but my daughter can, and she is loving it right now. Thank you so much. It helped me in a pinch. She was smiling all day, and that was a gift to me. You see how I did that transition? So the person doesn't feel horrible that they sent you something that you can't use. You let them know, although it didn't work for me, I was able to pass it along. Once it's your gift, you can pass it along. So make sure that you do that, okay? Sometimes people are going through real difficult times in their life. I don't know about you, but I've been through some difficult times in my life. And there, you just don't realize what you have and who you have in your life until something happens. Last year, when I was just walking up my walk, and the next thing you know, I was hurling into a brick stair and was in a trauma unit and was home and couldn't do things for myself. And people were calling and saying, Deborah, can I come by? Can I do this? Can I do that? I had no idea how many people out there really loved and cared for me. I was so grateful. Some people went above and beyond. And just that little thank you note with signing my name at the bottom, that was not going to get it. That was the time when I was able to sit down and write a thoughtful letter and say, you have no idea what it meant. I had a friend who drove all the way 25 minutes away because I dropped something on the floor that I really needed. My husband was out catering, and she kept saying, come on now, if you need me, call me. And finally I took her up on it. And in about 30 minutes, she was over. Not only did she come over and get it up off the floor, she washed my dishes, she took care of some other stuff. When you get that kind of stuff coming your way, just compassionate care coming your way, you want to write it down. You want to let people know. It's just so important. Gail is saying it's happened to me and my hubby too many times. It can be frustrating when you go a long way. And she's talking about when you go a long way and do something and you don't hear back. Gail's asking, are text messages okay for sending a thank you? You're getting the Deborah Johnson answer. A text message is the first step. A call is the first step. You go to your front door. You get this big old box. You were so excited. You go to your front door. There are flowers there. You didn't expect them. The very first thing I do is snap a picture, send it, and say, oh my gosh, if I know the person's working, call them up. Girl, how did you know? Oh, it's wonderful. But that's just the beginning. Now, as I have a chance to just enjoy the fragrance of the flowers, enjoy how it picked me up, now I'm writing a letter and saying, oh my goodness, you have no idea what was going on in my life today. And you sent me those flowers, and I'm in a totally different place now. You just will never know how that made me feel, that you would think about me. And those, I mean, wow, those, oh my gosh, the aroma is like all over my first floor. I am loving it. Okay? It's that kind of thing. So no, a text message is, it's not that you shouldn't send a text message. That can't be the only thank you. A real heartfelt thank you is writing a note. Now, if it's just a quick cup of coffee, the person sends you a text and says, hey, let's grab coffee. You say, yeah, you grab coffee. It's okay to send a quick text back and say, wow, that hit the spot. It was so wonderful to spend time with you. I'm going to tell you what, if you can't do anything and you can't get a step together, you can't reach out and say thank you. Pick up the phone and say thank you. If you see the person in person, stop, look them in the eye. I mean, seriously, make it a moment and say, you will never know what it meant to have you stop by last week. It meant the world to me. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you so much for keeping my child when I was in a jam. That deserves a backup note, a backup. When someone comes and takes care of your loved one, your children, whomever, write a note. And let me just say this. I didn't intend for this show to go this long because I thought, how much can you say about thank you? But you can say a lot actually. Don't overlook the kindness of people who are close in your life, your spouse, your children, your parents, your siblings, your very best friend who's always there for you. Sometimes we just overlook it because we feel like, well, what? That's their job. I mean, like I do it for them. They should do it for me. Yeah, I mean, but come on. That's my parent. I mean, they no, they don't have to do it. Young people, your parents do need to feed you, but it doesn't have to be all the foods that you like. It doesn't have to be in a restaurant. Yes, it's nice that your spouse, you kind of think to yourself, wait a minute, we've been married a long time. It's our anniversary. I'm expecting something. But they didn't have to do it. And sometimes they have to go a long way to do it. Have you ever gotten something from a sibling and you know that they know you and they get it for you because it's for no reason at all, but they just know you? My sisters Sylvia and Janice, the two of them, they write notes all the time. I love to pick up little gifts for them when I see them. And sure enough, I get a note in the mail. Baby, that was so sweet. You're so thoughtful. Guess what? I can't wait to run out and buy them something else because I like getting that affirmation. It's the same thing. If you're sitting there saying, wow, people never do that for me, maybe it's because they don't know that you're appreciative. Say thank you. It always, and it never, ever, ever, ever hurts to say thank you. So just know when people in your life do things for you, even if it's things you expect. My husband is the best chef in the entire planet. He cooks for me at a moment's notice. My friends come by and he will whip up something even when he's tired. He used to work 12 hours a day and come home and cook something that I really liked, even when I knew he didn't feel like it. I'm writing him a note. I'm writing something. I still put those little thank you notes when he was working in his lunch. Call me old fashioned, but I tell you what, it goes a long way. Please and thank you. You're right, Michelle. Please and thank you go a long way. And you know what? It causes you to lean into that relationship. It causes them to lean into you. And before you know it, you are transforming your relationship just by saying thank you. When your coworker, even if it's a group of coworkers and everybody does this every month for the birthdays, but when they decorate, your cubicle or your office, take the time to send a note to everyone and say, wow, made my day. You just are not gonna go wrong saying thank you. So we're coming kind of toward the end, but I want to share some quick do's and don'ts from Emily Post. My sister calls me Emily Post, and I smile every time she tells me that. She calls me Emily Post because I like to set tables. I like to do things that are the proper things to do. When I was little, I just always liked the whole etiquette thing. Emily Post says, do send a thank you note promptly. These are just so that you can think about these going on, or just you can remember what we just said. Do keep it personal. Make it a connection between the two of you. Do choose the appropriate stationery for the recipient and the situation. If it's a sympathy thank you, it might be a little more somber. Okay. So double check your spelling. You know what I told you about people and their names? Double check the spelling. Make sure their name is spelled correctly. Do surprise someone with a thank you note that they may not be expecting. Your hairdresser or your favorite bartender. People that are absolutely not expecting a thank you are just blown away when they get one. Then there's some thank you don'ts. Don't assume text is enough. Didn't we say this? Or an in-person thanks is enough. You're at the shower, you open the gift, you say, oh my God, thank you. But they just gave you $100 worth of diapers. When you get home, sit down and talk about how that's going to help you in the days ahead. Don't ramble. Just get to the point. Don't ramble. Don't go overboard unless you really think the candle holders are the most beautiful things you've ever laid your eyes on. You've never seen anything like it. It was just perfect. Just say thank you. Do not send pre-printed generic messages in lieu of personal notes. Let me say a word about this. Sometimes when there is a death, a funeral home might give you a stack of them. That's wonderful. Make sure you write in there. Make sure you take the time. Believe it or not, it's part of the healing process. So when you take the time to reflect on the people who showed up at the funeral home, who came by with food, and you write about it, it settles your mind. It reminds you that my worst possible moment, someone thought about me. They were there for me. Make sure, even though it's pre-printed, that you write something. Don't use being late as an excuse. Trust me on this. Don't be, if you say to yourself, this is really embarrassing, Deborah, you're saying this now. But guess what? I got a gift from a friend back in, this is May. So maybe you got it even in February. And you just fired off a quick text. Now you're sitting here thinking, geez, they sent me a nice gift. So what I'm asking you to do right now, you don't know how that would make that person feel to say, you know what? I got that back in February and I said, thank you. But you have no idea how many times I have used it and loved it. Girl, you're something. I just so appreciate you. That person will get that and they will just melt all over. Don't let it be late. I'm serious about this. Would you rather get a late thank you a year later or never at all? Have you ever just still wondered? It just comes back up again. You spend a lot of money. You spend a lot of care. And you're thinking, did they ever get it? Did they like it? And then, now this has happened to me. I have written my wonderful handwritten note, put the stamp on it, got distracted. It went back into something. It's in the side of my car. I go in the side and right between my seat and the console, there is the note that I thought was mailed 2 months ago. On the outside of the note, I either put it inside another note or right on the outside of the envelope, I say, oh my goodness, I cannot believe I didn't mail this. I so appreciate you. Now they know. And when they look inside and find out that Deb wrote this 2 months ago, they're still glad to get it. It's never too late to say thank you. Next week, I'm going to extend this conversation and I'm going to be talking to parents, children, and other people who just, when they feel like thank you, this kind of just a short note is not enough. I'm going to cover all kinds of fun ways to really convey thanks in a written form. You don't want to miss it. If you have young people, as young as really little people, and parents, when someone sends your baby a gift, it is the cutest thing to get a note from the baby that you know the parent wrote, but that's saying, dear Aunt Cheryl, thank you so much for the blocks. I've just been throwing them everywhere. My mom keeps picking them up and I keep throwing them down. It will make you smile. It'll make them smile writing it. And once again, it can makes that connection. Next week, we're going to be talking, no matter how old your child is, from preschool all the way up to teenage years. Plus, we're going to be talking about real creative ways when a little thank you card or a note is not enough. Another level of thank you in writing. We'll be talking about that next week. I am so glad everyone tuned in. I am so glad to hear that it's hitting home. This message is hitting. If you have more ideas about ways to say thank you, leave them in the chat. There'll be people coming back and watching this later, and they'll love to hear what you have to say. I'm so grateful that you tune in on Mondays at 5 o'clock. I'm so grateful if you're watching the replay that you find time to listen to it. And I just hope you enjoyed this. Hope you enjoyed this show. I want to leave you with one quote, and it's by Douglas Wood. The heart that gives thanks is a happy one, for we cannot feel thankful and unhappy at the same time. See you next week at 5 p.m. And until then, take some time and write from the heart. Have a great week. I look forward to seeing you next week.